But one of the contentious topics that I thought would be fun to talk about was homie stalking, because I was watching SCL week 1, and you know, I actually turned on the stream pretty early in the day, but not when the day started. And I think I might even have turned on my, you know, tuned into the stream during Lucky versus Hacks. And so let's even go to that, because I can find the little moment here.
Honestly.
Okay,
Hacks starting off pretty hot.
So Hacks gets a combo going. Hacks gets a combo going.
Hacks starting off pretty
Shines
hot.
him. Easy edge guard.
Oh no! But Lucky homie starts.
Look at his face, dude. Look how look at the look of disgust. The look of pure disdain, dude. Ugh. Ugh.
Game 4.
Look at him. Look at his face again.
Oh no! But Lucky homie starts.
Hacks' second reaction to the homie stuff.
Dude, he looked. That was like the face. That was like more pain than the face Mutaking made when he got wobbled by Nintendo. You know what I mean? There was so much pain in that expression. He just oh god. Let's watch it one more time.
Hacks starting off pretty hot here in game 4.
Really nice.
Look at this. Oh no! But Lucky
And the
homie
double disgust. He sees that he has Steed, and then he sees that Lucky homie stalks, and he's extra disgusted.
Hacks' second reaction to the homie stock is insane.
And then he's back into it pretty quickly, which is how you got to be as a competitor.
Okay.
And the game ends up being extremely close. You know, it doesn't have too much sway on the outcome of the rest of the game, but
a little aggressive, Lucky.
you know, it comes down to a last stock situation, and then Lucky kind of clutches it out. But it got me thinking. It got me thinking, because the commentators talk about the you know, how much hacks hate. Let's hear what Slime has to say about it. In fact, let's go back to the moment.
Look at this. Oh no! But Lucky homie starts.
Hacks' second reaction to the homie stock is insane.
Was he happy or mad
He
about
was
it?
mad about it.
Okay.
He was already hurt, and then he
Dude.
got the knife went deeper.
Homie stocks have
knife
gotten
went
rarer
deeper.
and rarer, but Lucky, one of the few players to still do it for his opponent. Crazy.
Now, I went into Lucky's stream later in the day, in fact, and I was hanging out Lucky's stream for a while. Lucky was talking about it, and Lucky said, you know, I honestly don't even really do homie stocks that often anymore. I kind of only did it because it was actually super fucking laggy. Apparently the set was like really, you know, the ping was high, and so Lucky actually felt really bad because of the ping. Now, that being said, Leffen was actually, I can't find I don't know where the clip is, because it's later in the day that Lucky said this. Lucky. Leffen was talking about this SD on commentary, and Leffen pointed out how, like, you know, it actually is kind of funny because ping shouldn't affect this, right? Like, messing up again, like, watch how he dies. He just kind of doesn't, like, high ping.
Hacks starting off pretty hot here in game 4.
Really nice.
Look at this.
High ping shouldn't really cause, on old netcode it would, right? On delay based netcode, it acts absolutely, you could get a frame drop that would eat your input, and then you would die like that. But on rollback netcode, usually that won't happen. And in fact, what my experience has been is that if you're getting SDs like that, or situations like that happen where inputs get dropped on Slippy, what it usually means is it's a PC issue. It means your CPU might be overheating, or your CPU is peaking for one reason or another, or you just have a potato computer. And usually if you're getting like choppiness, and it feels like old delay-based netcode, in my experience, 100% of the, okay, for me, 100% of the time that this happened for me, it wasn't because of ping, it was because of PC. But anyway, so Lucky homie stalks him. And, you know, it got me thinking about kind of the nature of homie stocks. And I'm someone who's lived in a region both where they were very much part of the culture and where they were very much not. Usually it is the best player, in my experience, usually it is like the best player or the best players in your region that kind of determine what the culture is around them. So when I lived in Seattle, when I lived in Seattle, Washington, and Silent was the best player, he did not like homie stocks. He thought they were stupid. He basically thought, like, look, man, just, especially if it's friendlies, just play the goddamn game. You know, no one cares if you win or lose a friendly. If you lose a friendly, like, big deal. It's just a friendly. Like, you should not be obsessing over the results of a friendly. So if you're homie stocking a friendly, like, that means you actually care too much about the results of the friendly, because you're actually thinking that the results of friendlies matter, which they don't, because who cares? And if you're homie stocking in tournament, it's like you got to realize, you know, technical mistakes are part of the game. People mess up technical all the goddamn time in Melee. Almost never are you going to see a full match go through with no unforced errors on both sides, right? So, I get that. I get that. On the other side of things, you have, you know, in California, you know, when I moved down to NorCal and just, you know, especially SoCal, you know, where Mang0 is obviously far and away the best player. Well, let's hear what Mang0 has to say on the topic. And thank you, by the way, for linking to Bloom in the chat, who has linked one of my favorite clips of all time. I sent this clip to Silent Wolf, and I made fun of him because I knew he hated them, but I knew that Silent Wolf loves Mang0 and Mang0 loves Silent Wolf. You know. Get some more about what Mang0 says.
Oh, he waited. Oh my god, he got pushed off. Alright,
That's the homie. If you were at home and you're like, oh my god, I hate homie stocks. Why don't you go get some fucking friends, you fucking nerds? Jesus Christ. Oh my god, I hate homie. Have a friend and understand. How about that? You fucking ugly Reddit. No friend having ass, bitch. How about that? Fuck you. Like a homie. I like a good homie stock.
I get it. I get it. The first homie stock that I ever saw was, God, what was the first homie stock ever? It was SilentSpectre. SilentSpectre was the first guy to ever SD when his opponent SD'd. It was a, you know, a tournament in NorCal. It might have been a regional. It might have also been a local. And it was SilentSpectre versus somebody. And SilentSpectre, and it was mind-blowing back then. I remember SilentSpectre. Oh shit. You know, it was crazy because like, it was like tournament, you know, and you're kind of like, oh my God, it's tournament. Like, don't you want to win the set? But it's like, no, he wants to win the set his own way. And it was badass. It was fucking bad. It's like, damn, he doesn't want you to die. You know, he wants to be the one to take your stock. He wants to be so in control of the set. It felt like, you know, that you don't get to SD your own stock away. He wants to take your stock. So he's gonna fight you on even footing, you know. And it was really badass when he did it. Johnny Buckets, thank you for the 2 months, by the way. I appreciate that. And it was fucking cool, man. When SilentSpectre did I don't even know if it was called a homie stock. If anyone knows, by the way, if anyone knows what set that was, the first homie stock ever. God, I wonder if I could find it. It was the first one to ever happen. It was a big deal. It was a big deal. It was actually an unprecedented incident, I guess. It was people freaked out. It was bad. It was definitely badass. First of all, what I personally do is it kind of depends who I'm playing. Kind of depends on the situation. Like I will do it sometimes, you know, if I think that the person I'm playing against would appreciate it, or if I really feel bad, or if it's like the start of, usually actually if it's the start of a match, I usually just reset and just start the game over, you know, in friendlies. If I'm playing Mang0, I usually homie stock. For example, when I play Mang0 at like Summit or whatever in friendlies, you know, I'll usually homie stock him if he SDs. But if I don't feel like you're gonna actually appreciate it, I definitely won't do it. I feel like the big thing that gets lost in translation with homie stocks these days is the word homie. I think that's the most important word. If I'm not homies with the person I'm playing against, if it's just someone on unranked, I don't think you need to do it. You know, I just feel like if we're not actually homies, like why would I homie stock you? That's the first step. Even Mang0 says you should get some friends. I don't think I'm friends necessarily with every single person I play on unranked. Not that I have anything against those people. And if I've ever played you in unranked, I would like to think we shared a special connection. But you know what I'm saying. I don't feel like you should have to feel obligated. And I played, I think I've even might have mentioned this on stream before. Dude, the worst I ever saw was this I ran into this Falcon player who was clearly pretty new to the game. He was clearly pretty new to the game, and God, I felt so bad for this dude. I was like, oh my God, this guy. So basically, I was on my last, sorry, he was on his last stock. He was on his last stock, and I had more than one stock. And I SD'd. Like, I guess this guy just thought he had to, like, he wanted to be cool. You know, he wanted to be a cool guy. And he ran off the stage. He, like, hesitated for a second. And then he just ran off the stage and killed himself. And I was like, fuck, dude. No, like, don't fucking SD your last stock, dude. Come on. Like, I just worry that this guy, you know, basically started playing pretty recently, like big Mang0 fan or whatever, and he's like, oh, Mang0 likes homie stocks, and he's like, fuck, this guy SD'd, and I have to homie stock him. That's what you do if you're a cool guy playing Melee. And I'm a homie, I don't want to not be a homie. And he SD's his last stock, and I'm like, dude, come on, man, that was the fucking game. Like, You can't homie stock your last stock away, dude. It doesn't work that way. And I wish I could have communicated this to this guy somehow. I wish I could have like told him, like reached out and told him like, dude, you're like too deep in the Kool-Aid. I want to pull you out of the Kool-Aid a little bit, you know? I want to tell you, you don't have to homie stock every fucking time your opponent SDs. It's not that big a deal. I promise you. I promise you, it is not that big a deal. Jesus. And it was like bad. I was like, dude, I don't know. Like I actually felt like, dude, this guy, this is the dark side. The title of the stream is The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. This is the ugly side. This is the ugly side of homie stalking, is this guy. This guy right here. He's too deep in the fucking Kool-Aid. It's tragic. Fucking tragic. And here's what I kind of actually realized though. I've been thinking a lot about how to get better at Melee recently, right? I'm actually trying to get decent at this game again. I'm trying to play more good players instead of dicking around on unranked all day. Got a you know, brand new controller from Nez. Trying to enter some tournaments once I feel really comfortable with it, which will probably start happening next week, maybe even this week. But if I can feel comfortable by frame perfect, I might even enter frame perfect, but you know, we'll see. And TLDR, I've been thinking a lot about kind of what's held me back in the past, what's held me back personally as a player, because I think that, you know, I've had some pretty good, you know, high points in my career. I've beaten a lot of top players, but I was never really higher ranked than top like 80. You know, I think at the peak of my career, 2013, 2015, I was around like top 80, 90 in the world, you know, but I was never like a top 30, top 20, even top 50 player. There's never been an argument for that, right? Mang0, thank you for the 10 months. I've beaten players like that here and there, but like they would be, you know, few. The sets where I would beat players like that would be few and far between. It felt like everything had to go right for me to take tournament sets off those sorts of players, like top players. And I actually think something that held me back that I think might be relatable for certain people is the notion that, like, the thing about Melee in particular, because, like, dude, it's such a hard game in terms of execution, like, physically speaking. Like, you know, some days, you know, you just aren't hitting the cleanest, the crispiest ledge dashes, or you're missing ledge dashes here and there, or your hands are a little clammy or whatever. You're not jump cancel shining as good as you can in friendlies or something like that. And a lot of tournament Melee is, you know, you're not always going to play your A game. Sometimes you gotta buff your B game or even your C game to do well in tournament, because you're not always going to play your A game in tournament. And I think a lot of what made, you know, for example, players like Armada super consistent. We always used to say back in the day, Armada's got like the best B game, you know, or even the best C game. You know, it just looked like he never played bad, right? And I think that, like, there's this realization I had recently, which is, like, from a mentality point of view, I think, like, in a way, if you're playing friendlies and you're, like, homie stalking when people SD, you know, and you're kind of saying, like, you know, oh, that's, you know, like, I think in a way, unless you're very careful about your mentality, like, I think it can be kind of bad in the sense that, like, you're kind of saying, like, oh, that didn't count. That stock didn't count. You know, that SD, like mulligan that stock. Because the thing is, like, especially in tournament, mistakes happen. And adapting those mistakes is a big part of, like, clutching tournament sets out. And I think Mang0 in particular has it down to, like, Mang0's got a phenomenal competitor's mentality. And I think Mang0 is able to be a homie stalker and not let it affect his assessment of how to play well on tournament day, how to have the right mentality that, you know, you can make mistakes. Sometimes you just have to, you know, you have to roll with the punches, so to speak, as mistakes happen in tournament Melee. But I think that a lot of players, honestly, that abide by homie stocks, I worry that for some of them, and I think I was like this for a long time. That's why I'm saying this. I'm not saying this because I'm judging other people. I'm kind of looking back on my own career and looking forward as well, what I need to get better at. I think rolling with mistakes is a big part of Melee, man. And I think that, like, for people who SD and, like, they feel like you SD in front, and you're like, oh, that was, you know, if you just, like, mentally you say that would never happen in tournament, or, like, that would not that would never happen in tournament, but, like, that didn't count. Like, the mentality of, like, that SD didn't count. Like, in tournament, that's not the case. Because one day you're going to play somebody from the East Coast, and you're going to SD, and they're not going to homie stop.
Oh, my spacing sucks.
And like, you don't get a do-over, you know. it happens. Like mistakes are gonna happen in tournament, and I think like for a lot of people who abide by homie stocks, like be careful with your mentality. I guess what I'm trying to say. Be careful that you're not actually thinking to yourself like that didn't matter. You know? Yeah, exactly. It can disrupt your mental state if you have to look at it a different way when it happens in tournament. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying you need to never homie stock. Like I think that there's a time and a place for it. I do it sometimes, especially if I legitimately feel bad for them. Like I'm like, damn, you really should have killed me there, and like, or like a clear lag spike happened or something like that. I don't know, like some kind of crazy. You know, and it depends who I'm playing and what the culture is with. It's kind of why I don't usually homie stock randos, is because like I don't know what their views are on. If I'm on unranked playing random people, I'm usually not like. If I don't know who they are, I don't know how they're even going to feel when I do it, right? So when I'm playing unranked, I can't help but compare myself to my opponent. But when I SD, there's some comfort in knowing this game doesn't count towards my personal evaluation. That is until my opponent really homie stocks me. Yeah, so the game never doesn't count. I mean, first of all, I mean, it's this duality, right? We're like in friendlies, like friendlies never count in a way. In a way, friendlies never actually matter. In another way, everything that happens in a friendly could happen in a tournament set. And I think that like, I guess what I'm trying to say is the mentality of like, oh, I don't want you to die like that because this SD, you know, doesn't represent what would actually happen in a real match or something like that, or doesn't represent what, you know, how I want your stock to be taken or how you want to take my stock. It just doesn't work out that way a lot of the time in tournament. And I think that like idealizing, like, you know, not to mention, there's all kinds of other aspects to it too. Like I remember a really funny tweet. It might have been Spark or somebody like that. He was like, you know, I don't understand. He was Spark or Laudanis or one of those Sheik players. They were like, yeah, I don't understand why all these spacey players SD when the other one SDs. Like I don't understand when these spacey players homie stock for each other. But then when I miss a reaction tech chase and they do wake up shine, I don't understand why they try to combo me off their wake up shine instead of immediately running off the stage and SDing when I miss my reaction tech chase. Because isn't it really the same thing? Like, you should be dead if I play perfect. I made a clear mistake. Shouldn't you resign your stock to me the way that you would if another spacey player ran off the stage or side beat off the stage? It might have been Captain Face Roll. It was one of those Sheik players. And I was like, I mean, yeah, that's kind of that's actually a fair point. Like, there are a lot of different types of mistakes in Melee. Some of them, like missed ledge dashes, result in you just losing your stock outright. I mean, others of them, they're not so clear cut, but at high levels of play, like if Face Roll drops a reaction tech chase on me versus if he hits his reaction tech chases, it's the exact same fucking thing. Like if he plays perfect, I should die. So isn't it the same thing? It's a fair point. I mean, he's not actually saying you should do it. He's pointing out the absurdity in a way of like pretending tech skill mistakes, you know, aren't part of the game, basically. But it was, you know, I think that's certainly a legitimate way to think about it, you know? Such a Sheik player thing to say. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is what it is, you know? It's like, it's kind of drawing an extreme, right? It's drawing an extreme for sure. But I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, you know, you can miss ledge dashes. I think it can, mistakes are going to happen, man. That's just how the game is. It's literally just how the game is. So like, you know. But at the same time, again though, at the same time, like I totally see, I do them from time to time. I definitely do them. And I mean, I see where, I mean, I don't want to make it seem like I'm completely anti-homie stock. I think there's a lot of nuance to it and a lot of subtlety. I think the mentality that Mang0 has is good. I think that when Mang0, like, I don't think Mang0 has the problem I just described where, you know, you're overvaluing ideal Melee, whatever that means, and you're Mang0 totally accepts that mistakes can happen, especially in tournament, and that you need to bring your B game up. Otherwise, Mang0 would not be the best player in the world, or, you know, top two. Is that the fair? Right now, is the best player in the world. Okay, post SDL week 1, but you know, I just don't think he has that problem. But you know, I think for a guy like Mang0 who kind of spread the terminology, I don't think it's about that. I don't think he's idealizing perfect play, or he's saying that mistakes don't matter or don't count or don't happen. I think he's you know, he just wants to feel like you know, he wants to feel like there's a, I mean, I guess the logic would be like, you know, there's a little bit of value in like who wins a friendly, and it's you know, it makes sense to homie stock somebody if it, you know, in the sense that, like, for example, a last stock situation or friendly, sometimes they'll clutch up or whatever, and it actually makes sense to homie stock down if your opponent SDs or something, just to like make the friendly seem like to reconstruct the situation that would have happened if they didn't do the obvious SD or whatever the case was. But I mean, even a guy like Mang0, like when we play friendlies, like Mang0 doesn't always homie stock me if I SD, or he doesn't always homie stock his opponent if they SD. It's kind of, there's a lot of context, right? There's definitely a lot of context. There's no stakes, so let me get disrespectful. Yeah, I mean, I don't think people are usually trying to be disrespectful with it. I definitely don't think Mang0's trying to be disrespectful with it, right? Definitely don't think Mang0's trying to be disrespectful with it. I think it's just like, oh, that sucks. I think it's just a gesture, you know? It's just a friendly gesture, like, oh, that sucks. Like, I feel you. You should have taken my stock, but instead you lost your stock. Let me kind of reset my stock. And it's just kind of a friendly gesture, right? I just don't think there's that much. Like, it's not that serious. I feel like it's not that serious. But again, at the same time, I feel like it's really easy to see that and take it to an extreme. Again, like the Falcon player I talked about, who literally homie stocked his last stock. Or, you know, in a more subtle way, you know, somebody like me, or somebody like, I don't know, I think a lot of people, I think a lot of the wild spacies that emulate Mang0, that try to be Mang0, try to play like Mang0, that homie stock and do things like that and kind of follow in his footsteps. I think there are a lot of people that struggle with consistency, and I wonder if a tiny part of it is that aspect of like SDs shouldn't happen and they're not really part of the game. Not in a conscious way, but in like a very subconscious, kind of insidious way, you know, like where it's very subtle. Because I think that was definitely the case for me, right? I think that definitely for me, I would lose in tournament, and I think some small part of me would be like, well, if I just played better, I would have won that set. If I just played better, you know, and I didn't want to accept substandard or suboptimal tournament melee as being something that I had to improve on, and that you have to improve on in general to become a world-class player.